Once upon a time, in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where scary, deadly germs were spreading freely on the city streets, there was this girl that was quarantined in her home. She was completely isolated from the outside world. It was in stillness she discovered something, a new hobby that involved needles in all shapes and sizes. Needles with 1 or 2 pointy ends for knitting, needles with little hooks, and those very tiny pointy needles. How was she able to survive this madness? Keep watching to find out.
Hi, my name is Celine. 2 years ago I learned myself a new skill through watching lots and lots of YouTube videos. And through that I discovered a new hobby, the art of crocheting and knitting. In this video I will talk you through all the little and big projects that I have crocheted and knitted the previous 2 years. I will share my big challenges and mistakes with you and show you how I went from being the ultimate beginner to a garment selling designer in 2 years only. When I started crafting with yarn 2 years ago, crocheting was something that was completely new to me and I had never ever done it before. I did know how to knit a simple knit stitch though, as nearly 10 years ago I had once made a knit stitch only tiny square patchwork blanket together with my boyfriend's gran and mother, and it took about a year and resulted in quite a disappointment eventually, as I didn't know anything about yarn and wool back then, and after the first wash half of the squares shrunk as they were made from woolen yarn, and half of them didn't as they were made from acrylic yarn. And I was quite devastated as I had put so much lost effort in this that I've been quite hesitant after that to pick up knitting again. But I did want to give crocheting a try, so there I went. January 2023, I crocheted my very first beanie. And quite quickly after that I crocheted beanies for lots of friends and family members, such as these tiny ones for my au pair kids. After like 10 beanies it was time for me to try something new, so I created 2 cotton halter tops for summer, one in green, one in beige, and it took me around 3 weeks to finish one of them. Quickly it became quite a habit for me to crochet an average of 2 hours every day, and now I was excited to crochet a big project. I chose to make the most simple cardigan design there was, with only 2 different stitches. I chose the cheapest cotton yarn from the yarn store in my street, but I regretted that eventually as the cardigan ended up becoming very heavy. From this experience I did a new discovery. There was a more lightweight and airy cotton yarn that was combed, mercurized cotton. So for my next cardigan I chose this type of yarn. And this was the first time that I bought a pattern for a cardigan through Etsy. It was a flared sleeve 70s cardigan with a cute tie here in the front. I quite misunderstood some things in the pattern though, like I always do with everything. So the end result was not quite what I expected it to be, although it still looked very lovely. I made it way too big though, and after washing it, it stretched out even more, so instead of the medium size where I was going for, it ended up becoming a size extra large. So I sold that one, unfortunately. But now I see it again. I might give this one another try though, as I really love the fit. I found another lovely pattern on Etsy from Mermaid Cat Designs of a long crochet dress, and I was so in love, and I especially like the floral border from this pattern, but I transformed some details that I didn't like into something else. And when I finished the top part, I loved it so much that I decided to not continue with the bottom, so it was a romantic ruffle flared sleeve top now. And I created another one in a dusty pink color that I kept myself. Let me show you. So after this I couldn't let go of my enthusiasm for florals, so I crocheted lots of flowers and I learned how I could make daisy squares. And I remember how intimidating they looked to me before this point, but through some helpful visual videos on YouTube it was actually much easier than expected. And from some leftover yarn I could make just enough daisy squares for this pouch bag that I still carry with me everywhere I go, as it carries my current crochet or knitting projects. So winter 2023 came, and around this time I crafted some sweaters for my cat so that he could still go cycling with us like he is used to. And I also wanted to knit one, so I learned myself, next to the basic knitting stitch that I already knew, a purl stitch, so that I could knit a sweater that had this typical V pattern. I had to watch lots of videos about these purl stitches, as I really didn't get it at first, but when I finally understood it, I was so pleased with this new skill. So this here was the result of the knitted cat sweater. Around this time my cat reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and quickly after that 10,000. So for these celebrations, the fangirl that I am, I made little presents for Ross and Case. First this crochet plushie of Ross, and second a knitted wall hanging. From reused yarn from an old sweater, I wanted to design a new sweater myself with an illustration that I made of my cat in the forest. But while I was knitting, I completely lost my motivation because I stopped liking the color combination and the sizing was off. So I never finished this project, unfortunately. After that I did lots of smaller projects again, such as knitted beanies, headbands, and I crocheted a lot of bandanas from leftover yarn that I sold through my Instagram page. Also this knitted one. I also wanted to create a teddy bear to gift, so I made these two bears, one for my au pair kid and one for my little nephew. The one for my au pair kid I gave a cute little daisy square dress that I also designed myself, and I was so in love with the end result, and I kind of wanted to be a kid again myself, to have a teddy bear like this one, because it's adorable, right? Now I had been trying out lots of new techniques, I was ready for a new challenge, and I really wanted to give designing something myself another try, and I was longing for this summer halter dress with an open back. I didn't really make a sketch, but I just started crocheting ships until I was pleased. And I integrated a floral border in this design because I love this in the ruffle top so much as well. I wrote down every step of the way though, and this resulted in a document of my very first pattern. If you would like to give this pattern a try, you can find it for free on my YouTube. So for my next project I really wanted to create something that was a combination of crocheting and knitting, so I decided to sketch a new design myself of a sunflower square cardigan, but with knitted borders and sleeves. So the first one that I made is this white one with typical colored sunflowers and a v-neck. And the second version was with a round neck and a more colorful palette. So for this cardigan I also wrote down a pattern with lots of pictures from the process so that it's easy to follow. So if you're comfortable with basic crochet and knitting stitches, this would be the perfect pattern to try out yourself. It is available on Gumroad now for only €5, and after your purchase you will receive a PDF in your email and you can start crafting. Oh wait, before knitting the sunflower cardigan with the knitted round neck border, I made a tiny knitted cardigan version for my little nephew. And I realized that this was also not as intimidating as I thought it looked. I guess you could say that this has been quite a moral of my crochet and knitting journey. Once you get the hang of a certain stitch, it only requires patience to create something very beautiful with your own hands. So the current project that I am knitting is the Nomad jacket from Wool & Beyond. I chose to make this design as I absolutely love the fit, and it includes lots of new knitting techniques that are a new challenge for me, such as double knitting and I-cords and honeycomb brioche. So I'm very excited to learn all of these new stitches. I have started with double knitting, and so far this has been much easier than expected again, although at first it seemed so intimidating. I expect to continue this knitting project for some months, but make sure to subscribe if you would like to see the final results once I have finished. So, if you have any questions about any of the projects that I have crafted the previous 2 years, feel free to reach out to me by commenting on this video. You're also very welcome to message me on Instagram at Atelier See the Forest. When I have finished items that are made to be sold, I will share them on here as well. Thank you so much for watching my video. I have recently added playlists on my YouTube profile, so all my videos about knitting and crocheting are collected in one playlist there. So check them out if you would like to see more. See you later. Bye!